So I had a couple of things to say. So first of all, you all were wondering why is Russia not going in full hand with the full army because they would win very quickly. Yes, that's true. We saw what could happen in 2014 when they went in hard. They got their lands in a couple of, I'd say, a couple of months, if I remember correctly. Some even less than a year. They had the Crimea secured, in some months, and yeah, that was very easy. Now NATO trained the Ukraine forces, and Russia's been preparing for the conflict with Ukraine since around 2010, 2014, when Maidan started, the revolution, the Ukrainian coup started. And now Russians are prepared to go in. What happened is they went in hard. They managed to capture the objectives. They made some mistakes, blah, blah, blah. Now we're here today. And why they have not mobilized a huge force to counter the Ukrainians is they don't need to. They don't want to destroy Ukraine or like destroy the Ukrainian army in one coup. They want to empty the NATO supply, because how many Western tanks have been given to Ukraine now? They emptied their Soviet stocks. Now they're up to their more modern battle stocks. They're giving Abrams, they're giving Leopards. They still get destroyed, but they're still giving guns. How many NLAWs were given, or how many NLAWs or Stingers or whatever were given to Ukraine the first few months? A ton. Now where are them? They're pretty much lost. They were lost in Mariupol, in Bakhmut. They were, much of them were captured. How many now Ukrainians that had a lot of combat experience? Almost all of them are dead because they were they were sent to the front to hold the line, or they were cut off in Mariupol. They were cut off in major offensive that cut off most of the elite forces of Ukraine, and now they're dead. Right? So now Ukraine redid the army with help of NATO, with help of US supplies, and all the trucks, new weapons, equipment, it comes from NATO. What Russia wants is to destabilize NATO long enough so that NATO doesn't have the capability to supply more tanks, more vehicles, and it takes time. They won't go in, and they won't end the war in 1 year. Their plan, they see the war, if they want to have the Donbas Oblast and all the oblasts that they want from Ukraine, it will be 3 to 4 years, right? Because they want to systematically destroy all NATO stock of weapons. And they've been doing a great job about it, because now many countries, they're starting to give their own military supplies.
Yeah, and
They,
if you
yeah,
think about it too,
Can I ask it?
with the United States and the political upheaval and indecision and pro-war and anti-war and all the factory shutdown stuff, Russia arguably has like at least 2 years before the West would start producing anything to counter that or compete with Russia, and Europe would probably be just as long, if not longer. So, if they're looking at 2 or 3 years, I mean, they've got a good amount of time to where they accomplish their goal of depleting, NATO and the U.S., and they could do a pretty extensive job if they continued on for the next, year or two, just because as long as Biden's in, despite all the talk and the rhetoric, they're not going to start pumping out tanks or anything like that anytime soon, because it's too much dumbass political shit to, figure out what you need to do. Like, they talk all this crap about, oh, we're going to start making 50,000 shells a year. Yeah, eventually they will. But like I said, it kind of, if that's Russia's game plan, again, it's another factor that works in their favor, because, the U.S. military industrial complex isn't going to be able to ramp up to compete against them or supply Ukraine in the next 2 years, realistically. I mean, yeah, something could happen. Biden could suddenly grow a brain and, they could nationalize everything and but none of that's going to happen. So, you figure they got at least 2 years to wrap up Ukraine however they want. And then the whole time they're depleting NATO, because NATO's not going to be building anything more than what they're building now. And they're either going to stop supplying Ukraine and start building up their own supplies, or they're going to probably basically just be pumping out enough to keep supplying Ukraine and not really keep anything back for themselves.
You know, Vaughn.
Hold on. Matty Red's been waiting to go for a while.
Okay, yeah, after him.